This is my book review of Loving Life, The Morality of Self-Interest and the Facts That Support It by Mr. Craig Biddle. And the book opens with a quote from Ayn Rand. The quote reads, "The purpose of morality is to teach you not to suffer and die, but to enjoy yourself and live." And this gets to the fundamental arguments of the book that there is no opposition between morality and self-interest. Typically, we are taught that to be selfish is wrong and to be selfless is good, that you ought to sacrifice yourself as much as possible, and the more the better. You ought to sacrifice yourself and give up yourself and your values and your time and effort and the things that you are interested in. You ought to sacrifice those things to other people, to God, to the nation, to the common good, anything but yourself. And we are taught that to do this is to be moral, and to be selfish is to be immoral. This book argues otherwise. The first chapter starts off talking about religion versus subjectivism, why neither will do. And there is a common problem that people face where if they're looking for a moral framework to live their life by, they feel that either they take up a religion or they are just completely lost. And who makes up the values? Who tells us what is good and what is bad, what is right and wrong? If we don't have this authoritative religion to tell us what is right and wrong, then it is just up to us and we become subjectivists. It is either up to me, a personal subjectivist, I can just decide what I think is right and wrong, or a collective subjectivist, where it's just whatever the society says goes. So if slavery is a common, normal part of the society, then slavery is okay. If it's not, then it's not okay. Uh, it doesn't have it. It leaves people without an objective moral framework, and to be kind of lost in there is not a good place to be. It's either, to be lost out there in subjectivism or to believe in a God who doesn't exist so that I can have this authoritative moral framework. And this chapter also argues that even religion is also subjectivism. It's just another form of subjectivism because it is just people saying that uh, this is my God and this is what he says. And he says something completely different from your God. And there is no factual argument behind it. There is nothing objective about it. It is really just people saying what they feel and what they believe. The second chapter is on the is-ought gap, subjectivism's technical retreat. And this is referring to what people say along the lines of you cannot get to an ought from an is. And that means that they're saying no matter what you know and discover scientifically, learning nothing you learn about what is true in reality will teach you and tell you what you ought to do as a human, right? Nothing that you learn about the material world will tell you how you should live ethically and morally. And this discusses how Ayn Rand pointed out that that is wrong and that our values and morality, and they do come from reality. They come from the objective fact that life has certain requirements, and human life in particular has the certain requirement that is reason, and that we must use reason in order to survive. If I was on an island by myself, I would have to use my mind. Even the most simple of things that I do, they are not instinctual. If I were to make a fishing line, I have to use my mind and my reason to make that. And I have to use my reason constantly to sustain my life and to keep on living, right? Um, then he gets into some of the basic human needs, what humans need in order to live properly. And like I said, we need to be able to reason, we need to be able to reason freely, and we also need to be able to act freely. So if somebody were to uh, tie me down or imprison me, then I could not live, not as a human. I might still be living, my heart would be beating, but I wouldn't be living fully as a human. I wouldn't be living my life. I wouldn't have the ownership of my life, right? Also, if people were to take half of my things away, whatever I produce, if whatever food I catch or eat or grow, if they were to take away half of it, right, I would not be able to live fully as a human. I wouldn't be able to live my life. I wouldn't be the sole owner of my life. Later, he gets into objective moral virtues. And these are the actions that sustain our values. So uh, my values are to live a good, flourishing, happy life, and I need certain virtues in order to do that, right? Certain actions I need to have and principles to live by in order to uh, keep my values and to work for my values. So I need integrity, for example. I need honesty. I need pride, and a few other ones. Um, then finally, he gets into what a civilized society would look like, and that is just talking about how we are to interact with each other. Earlier, I was on a deserted island by myself, but if I'm living in a society with other people, we need to be able to interact with each other, and I cannot be taking away your rights, and you cannot be taking away my rights. Otherwise, we cannot live fully as human beings. And so what that comes down to, uh, uh, Biddle argues, is complete laissez-faire capitalism. You can do whatever you want with your property, so long as it's not violating the rights of other people. So if you come up with some invention, you are allowed to sell that to people, and you make all of the profits on that. People don't take that away from you. They don't take half of your profits. That is all your property. Um, and well, I won't get into more of that, but you can read more of the book if you want to understand that. One thing that I really liked is that he talked about emergency situations, but he talked about it as an afterthought. And this is really important because most philosophers, they they spend their whole career talking about these emergency situations where there's three people sitting on this train track and there's one person sitting on that train track. And what's the moral ethical thing to do here? Do you pull the lever, blah blah blah, all of that. And objectivists, they don't see that as like the fighting grounds for what morality is. Those are emergency situations. They're very rare, and in certain situations there is no morally right or wrong thing to do, because you cannot know what, like, you cannot use your rationality to make a proper decision. If somebody is pointing a gun at two different people and you have to decide, th there is no moral thing to do there. Morality has to do with living your day-to-day life, living a happy, flourishing life. To go back to the quote, the purpose of morality is to teach you not to suffer and die, but to enjoy yourself and live. The purpose of morality is to teach you to enjoy yourself and live. It is not to teach you what you are to do if you're in some concentration camp and an evil guard gives you this terrible situation to pick between, and that's the example that he uses in the appendix. But morality is for our everyday life. Um, what I really liked about the book, so to just give some judgment of the book, it is very hard hitting. It is punchy. It is direct, right to the point. It just gives point after point after point, and it gets right to it. It's very succinct. As you can see, it's quite the short book. It's only, I believe, like 138 pages. And I read it over 3 days, and it was a very good read. It's very well written. It's very clear. It's easy to understand. It's very logical and reasonable. Um, Also, like I appreciate this. There were zero typos. Often I read a book, there are sometimes typos. Craig did a great job with this, and his editors did a great job with the book overall. It's very, very well written. One criticism I would have for it is that it's hardly a criticism, but I don't think that I would give this to somebody who was new to objectivism, and had no idea what it was about, and who, especially somebody who wouldn't be in the position to find it very approachable. Somebody, let's say, who was very, very religious, or somebody who was like uh, uh, very, very progressive and woke and a subjectivist, uh, somebody who wouldn't resonate with this philosophy. I don't think that this is the book to give them right off the bat. I think it would be better off to give them The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand, or perhaps uh, so The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand, or Atlas Shrugged, or perhaps also even Philosophy Who Needs It, if you preferred a nonfiction book. Uh, and the reason why I say that is because this book is so punchy and so fast to the point. I feel that, and I'm just projecting my own mind. I think that if I was completely new to this, uh, I wouldn't quite get what he's saying right off the bat, because he does say it so directly and quite densely. Um, but if you are not new to objectivism, but you're starting off with it and you're curious and you really want to solidify your understanding of it, put it into practical terms, and so that you can communicate it better to other people, this is definitely an excellent book for that. So yeah, that is my review of Loving Life, The Morality of Self-Interest and the Facts That Support It by Craig Biddle. It's a good book. It's a good objectivist book. And if you're interested in the ideas of Ayn Rand objectivism, I highly recommend it.